Guten Tag. Well, I would like to work with you on the alphabet and a whole bunch of introductory notes on how German is written, and also a few tricks that I had that might make it just a little bit easier for you. So, let's get started. As you see here is how I have the alphabet written out. Not that the alphabet has to be written out this way, but this helps for me to get the rhyme going, I guess. So, let's start with the first row right here. We have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I'm going to take a few notes to help you understand what those sound like. So, A, like in ah, that you say at the doctor's. B, like in down by the bay. Okay. C. It's like the word say, but there's sort of a T in front of that. C. C. Day, like have a good day. This next one is A. And A is, just be careful because you want to say E, but that's actually going to be this letter here. So this is A. Alright? So I think of the Canadians who always say A, right? So there you go. A. And then this is F, just like English, so I'm not going to worry about that one. This one's pronounced G. G. Okay? So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Try that with me. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Good. Now let's hit the next row. This one here is ha. Just like you're laughing at someone. Ha. Right? This one is, as I said, it's E. So it sounds like, a couple of E's together. E. Like that. This one here is yot. Yot. I'm not sure how to spell that, so I'll put Y-O-T-E to get the idea. Yot. 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 This one here is Ka, just like the snake from the Jungle Book. So I will put his name there, Ka. I think Ka is spelled with two A's in the snake book. Anyway, this is the same basically as English, although it's lighter. We'll get to that in a minute. Same with this is the same, this is the same, this is the same. And this one is pay, like I need to pay my bill. Okay, so now we have Ha, I, Yot, Ka, L-M-N-O-P. Okay, once again, Ha, I, Yot, Ka, L-M-N-O-P. Try that with me. Ha, I, Yot, Ka, L-M-N-O-P. Great. Let's add it with the first one here. Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Once again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Alright, very good. The next line. This one is Kuh. Yes, just like a cow in German. So I will say C-O-O to get that sound. Kuh. This one I'll stop and talk about. I'm going to write the word air, A-I-R. But the letter R is a very difficult letter to recreate for American students till they get it. It took me about 4 years to really feel comfortable getting that R out. And basically, although this is going to sound pretty weird, you have to vibrate your uvula way back in the back of your throat. So it's not a tongue roll like some Latin languages do. That's not it. It is a very guttural back of the throat roll of your uvula. Okay? And so it's going to sound like this. I don't know if I can get closer on that. But that's what it's like, okay? And to pronounce the letter, it's R, R, R. That sounds so romantic to me. What girl could resist R, right? Okay, so give it a try. If you can't quite get it, then just say R. It's okay. But work on that over time, and maybe, after a lot of input, you'll get it. R, R. Okay. The S sounds just like an S. This one is te. So I'll write T-A-Y, I guess, te. This one's oo, oo. So, not sure how to write that. I guess I'll go like this, ooh, ooh, like this. I don't know if that's the right way, but it's ooh, however you remember it, okay? Now, these two get a little tricky because this will sound like an F and this will sound like a V. So, this one is foul, foul. So it's like a foul ball without the L, okay, foul, foul. And this one is ve, ve. So I'll write V-A-Y to get that across. So now this row we have Q-R-S-T-U-V-V. I'll do that again. Q-R-S-T-U-V-V. Try it with me. Q-R-S-T-U-V-V. One more time with me. Q-R-S-T-U-V-V. Now let's add all three rows with me. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, V. Let's do that again. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, V. Okay? And then this is X. X. I guess I'll do it like this. I think of Vicks cough drops without the V. X. X. Now, the letter that's very fun to say is upsilon. So it sounds like oops, like you drop something, and then you continue it with upsilon. It's based on the Greek epsilon, but it's pronounced upsilon. Upsilon. Okay? And the last letter is zet. And it's like I'm going to set the table, but there's also a T sound in front of it. So you put a little T right before there. Zet. Zet. Okay? Very good. Let's get that. I'll talk about this in a minute here. So let's get these last three. X, Y, Z. X, Y, Z. With me. X, Y, Z. One more time with me. X, Y, Z. Now, let's try to pronounce the whole alphabet with me twice through, but we'll take a break. So, with me. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, V, X, Y, Z. That's the whole alphabet. Let's do that one more time. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, V, X, Y, Z. Very good. Now, this letter out here on its own is not really part of the alphabet. It basically represents two S's, a double S. We call it an S set. S set. It's pronounced S, like just a long S kind of a sound. S set, okay? So, it's not really set in with the alphabet because it stands basically for two S's. So we'll get to that in some notes, but that is the alphabet. Now let's get down to some notes. The first one is the umlauts. Umlauts are two dots that you see over letters. First of all, they basically only come under A, O, or U. There are some exceptions, but they're rare, so just don't even worry about the exceptions right now. Just think that umlauts are only on A, O, or U. Okay, and you should be all right. So, a German A with an umlaut, a German O with an umlaut, or a German U with an umlaut is all you're going to get for the most part. So the German A with an umlaut basically sounds like the German E, just like a normal E in German. But how do you pronounce that from our alphabet? As you remember, it's A, A. So basically, this is an A. Real Germans will argue that it's different from that, and they're right, it is slightly different, but it's close enough to be okay to say A. So it's okay. So just say A. And this word here, it's kind of hard to pronounce when you're not used to it, but just start with this part, made, made. Okay, this would be made, and then this part, we'll get to how to pronounce this in just a minute, but this will be hen, made, hen, Mädchen, Mädchen, Mädchen. Very good. So now, this one here, this is a fun one to pronounce. So, we don't really have this sound in English. Not really. Some could argue there's a few sounds that are close, but not a true German umlauted O. Basically, you pronounce the German E, which remember is pronounced A, okay? And then you keep your tongue and your teeth exactly where they are, and you start to bring your lips together in a rounded form. So from A, you go A, So that is the sound there. I just love looking at someone and just pointing at them and saying, I'm just giving them an O umlaut, so it's not, insulting or anything. Here is a German sample. The word for hear, he hears this or she hears that, is hört, hört, okay, hört, hört. All right. This U with an umlaut does a very similar thing. It is the German I, but of course we don't pronounce it that, as you remember. It's pronounced E. Excuse me, E. So you do the same trick. You do the E, you keep your teeth exactly where they are and your tongue exactly where it is, and just bring your lips in. So E, E, E. So this is pronounced E, E. Okay? And a sample is küsst, küsst, which is kiss, of course. Küsst, küsst. So, again, this one is this one is and this one is E, E. Okay? Very good. Those are the umlauts. Let's get to the next one. The sibilants are basically consonants that have sort of a hissing type of sound. So, let's go through some of these. First of all, there's basically no SH in German, essentially. There are some exceptions, but basically there's no SH. If you hear a sh sound, don't write SH, you're going to get it wrong. Okay? This is the most common one, SCH, right here. And then there's also ST, like in Stuhl, that has a sht in there already, or SP, like in Spiel, which is play. So it has a sh sound in it already, but basically not this. Okay, so if you hear a sh sound, don't write SH. The exceptions would be foreign words like Washington or t-shirt, that has an SH in it. You'll also see an S with an H in German, but it's not a sh sound. Here's a sample. I'll write it off to the side here. There should be enough room. Bisher, which is basically up to now. It's a combined word of the word bis and the word hair. It just so happens that bis ends with S and hair begins with H. But you don't pronounce it bisher. It's bisher. They're separated. So it's still not a sh sound anyway. So here you see an SH together, but it's not that. The next one is the SEH sound. It's harsher than the English sound. So like, this is my joke here. The English word harsh has kind of a lighter sh, harsh, but the German's going to be sh, harsh, you know, so it's a harsher sound. Okay, then the ch in German and English. Excuse me, they're not in English, just in German. There's two ch types. There's the hard ch, which sounds like and there's the soft ch, which sounds like the beginning of the English word huge, like that. Okay, you have a hard ch, the after a, o, or u. So like this word, buch, buch, has a sound to it. Okay. The soft ch comes after an e and I or any umlauted vowel, which remember umlauts come on a, o, or u. So a umlaut, o umlaut, or u umlaut. If there is a ch after it, it has a sound. Like the plural of Buch is Bücher, Bücher. Okay, so Buch has a hard ch. Bücher has a soft ch. Now that S-set that we saw at the end of the alphabet is always at the end of a syllable. So people ask me, gee, do Germans ever mix this up with a capital B? No, never. They'll never mix it up because a capital B is at the beginning of a word. This can never be at the beginning of a word or really at the beginning of a syllable. It's really only at the end of a syllable. Okay, and it basically stands for an SS. There is a rule for when you use this and when you use a double S. In a nutshell, if this comes after a long vowel, then or a consonant, you'll use an S set. A short vowel, you'll use two S's. That's it, but I'm just going to leave it at that. Let's continue. The letter S at the beginning of a syllable is going to sound like the English Z, like in zingt, the word sings. Zingt. It's at the beginning of a syllable, so it's going to sound like a Z. But at the end of a syllable, or towards the end of the syllable, it will sound like a regular S, like in Brust. Brust. That's just a regular S sound, like we're used to. Okay? Then the Z will sound like a TS. Think of the English word rats. Oh, rats. Tss. Now just keep the tss sound and start it. This word for the number 10 in German, some Americans will pronounce it Zane. That's wrong. They'll pronounce it Tain. That's wrong. You need to have a TS sound. Zane. Zane. That's correct. Zane. So anytime you see a Z, pronounce it with a TS, always. Zehn, with any word there. Those are the sibilants. Okay? Now some various notes. In German, all nouns are capitalized. In fact, to expand that a little bit, there's only 3 capitalization rules in German, whereas English has over 40. So basically all nouns are capitalized, the beginning of a sentence is capitalized, and something we'll get to later called the formal U forms. Those are capitalized. And that's basically it. So there you go. You know in English how hard it is to get IE or EI? There's no difficulty in German at all. Okay? Basically, it sounds like the second letter in English. So let me explain. If you have these together, this will sound like the English letter E. So think of the E. And if you have this together, it'll sound like I. So it'll sound like the second letter there. Here's a couple of samples. I like to use Bier and Wein. Bier has E as the second letter, so it sounds like an E. Bier. Bier. And Wein has I as the second letter, so it sounds like Wein. And it never varies from that. It's always like that. Okay? Very good. If a word ends with the letter B, the letter D, or the letter G, the word will sound like it ends with the letter P in this case, or the letter T in this case, or the letter K in this case, with a minor exception, and I'll get to that. So this letter, or excuse me, this word yellow is gelp, gelp. It sounds like a P, although it ends with a B, it sounds like a P, gelp. And this word is not hand, but hunt, hunt. Okay, sounds like a T at the end. And this word is not tag, it's tuck, tuck, with a k, good K sound right there. Okay, very good. Then, here's just another one here. If you hear a k sound in German, guess K. The letter K is going to be used a whole lot more than the letter C. Go to a German dictionary if you want. Look up how many K words there are. There's page after page after page. Look up how many C words there are. There's maybe one page. There's just not many words that have a K spelled with a C in German. So if you're going to guess a K. You'll get it right over 90% of the time. The letter Y, like in English, can be used as a vowel. Not often, but it does get used. When it is used as a vowel, it will sound like a U umlaut. So let's look at this word, which is a German word. Remember what I said about the S. The S at the beginning of a syllable sounds like a Z, so this one's going to sound like a Z, but the one that ends at the end of a syllable will sound like a regular S, so this will still sound like a regular S. And as we said, this Y is going to sound like a U umlaut. So this is pronounced System, 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 System. It does mean system, just like you think. I'm actually adding this in. I just realized I didn't quite call this exactly as I should have. Here's what I really mean. No silent H at the beginning of a word or syllable. So if it starts with an H, you like Hund, Hund, a dog, you do pronounce the H. However, there is an H that comes after a vowel, and it serves to lengthen the vowel, makes it a long vowel, such as Stuhl. Stuhl is S-T-U-H-L, and the H is simply lengthening the U, and so you don't pronounce this H, and I should have clarified that better on my notes here. But that is the truth. The H here is simply lengthening this U to get it a nice Stuhl instead of Stuhl, something like that. So, there's my explanation. Here's one that I make a mistake on as an American all the time. I want to put a heavier L sound in my word, but the L in German is a lot lighter. Let's take the word ball. You hear I just pronounced that. In English, I have a very heavy L, ball. It's down back in my throat. It's a deep and dark sound, and it's really not a very pleasant sound at all. So you want to keep it light with the tongue forward in the mouth and up in the roof of the mouth, and so it'll sound like ball, ball, ball. So that's a more proper L sound in German. It's ball. Oh, okay. Here was that exception that I was talking about here, where I said if it ends with a G, it'll sound like the letter K. Well, if it ends with an IG, and there's a lot of words that end with an IG, it will sound like either a CH or the letter K. And I'll give you an example, like the number 20, which is 20. There's two ways to pronounce that, and it depends on where you are in Germany. It's regionalism. But you'll hear 20, 20 with a K sound. That's perhaps a little more northerly, you'll hear that. Or you'll hear a CH, a soft CH, 20, 20. And you'll hear that maybe a little more south, don't hold me down to those. That's just a generalization. But you'll hear both. Don't worry about it. It's just regionalism. It's tomato, tomato. Who cares? It's not a big deal. A J always sounds like a Y, or the English Y. So if you see a J word like this, that's not jaw, it's ya, ya. And I should add too that I forgot to put here. V always sounds like an F. Yes. So a word like this is feel, feel, or the number 4 is fear, fear. Okay. And a W always sounds like an English V. Okay, so one that's very funny is the word vodka. Vodka. We use a V, of course, in English, but it's a W in German. Vodka. I don't know why I'm giving you these examples. Okay, then some last minute things here. German is very famous for very long words, but don't let it bother you. It is just a way to create new words out of old ones, and it actually, in my opinion, makes the language easier. Don't worry if the word is long. Find the short parts of the word and break it down. Here's a sample, and one of my favorites is the word Handschuh. You have Hand and Schuh. Hand and shoe. Well, what is that? Well, it's a glove. That means you don't have to have a separate word for glove. You take a word you already know, Hand, and you take Schuh, which you already know, and you've got a new word, glove. Isn't that awesome? So, now High German and Low German. I teach High German. High German is standardized German. That's the German I know. That's the German I teach. That's the German that you're supposed to learn in school, and you would be tested in that and everything. Okay. Low German is a general term that refers to all of the different dialects out there, and there's a lot of German dialects out there. So Low German, historically, about 500 years ago, there was no High German, there was no standardized German. There were a bunch of little dialects at every little region in what is now Germany. There wasn't a Germany 500 years ago. That was just all these smaller kingdoms. So, along came Martin Luther. Now, not Martin Luther King Jr. I'm talking about Martin Luther, the religious reformer, the founder of Protestantism, excuse me. Anyway, what he did was he wrote the Bible into German. The first real time that the Bible was available now in the people's language, as it was only available essentially in Latin, Greek, and Hebrew before that. And you had to be highly educated to be able to read those. So he wrote it in German. Of course, he wrote it in his German, but he also tried to find the best German words that the most people around his regions would understand. Everyone wanted to read this Bible, so basically Martin Luther's German ended up standardizing the language, and that's essentially the German that we use today is Martin Luther's German. That's High German. You will hear some Low German words, and probably the biggest one that you'll hear is the number 2. The High German is zwei. Low German is zwo. So you will hear this zwo. I guarantee you, you're going to hear it a lot, as a matter of fact. So just understand that it's going to come across. Okay. Then a note to you about pronunciation. This is basically a philosophical sentence that I'm going to do. Some teachers make a very big effort and a big issue about pronouncing things right. I really don't. Now, if a word is mispronounced to where a German would not be sure of what you said, then yes, let's deal with it. That is an issue. Let me give you a sample. We're going to get this word soon. F-I-N-D-E. Now, when English students look at that word, they think finde. But when a German hears the word finde, he will think of this word, which means enemies. Okay? So that's when an English mispronunciation will get in the way. The true pronunciation here is finde, not finde. So finde. That's when I'll correct you. Okay? But if you make some small issues with the language, I'm not going to make an issue out of it. And don't be upset if your German does not sound like a native German right away. I've been speaking German for over 30 years and I still don't sound like a native German, although Germans tell me my German's pretty good. I'll accept that. That's good enough for me. And Germans have no problem understanding me, which is the main point after all, is that you get yourself understood. The comprehension is number one in my book. So, but what about, sounding perfect? Well, here's another thing I would say. Think of foreigners who are learning English. We usually don't give them bad looks if they are trying to speak English and they still have a bit of a heavy accent. This is okay. I'm thinking of Antonio Banderas, who did the voice of Puss in Boots on the Shrek series. And, he's from Spain and he's got a Spanish accent. He's always going to have a Spanish accent. His English is really good. And we have no problem understanding him. I would actually argue that we kind of like his Spanish accent. It's cute, Most people like it. So don't worry about it. If you're speaking German with a bit of an American accent, don't worry. Germans, I guarantee you, they're going to love the fact that you're trying to speak their language. In fact, most Germans end up somewhat apologizing for their own language, though there's no reason to do that. They'll say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, the German's so hard." It's not hard, but they really are sympathetic. So don't worry about that. Now, I've saved the best for last. There's a great trick that English speakers get because as German speakers migrated over to the British Isles, their language changed somewhat, and basically German changed to this Anglo-Saxon version, at least in the early days, and then later French influenced, and we got the English that we have now, with sort of a real hodgepodge of a bunch of influences. But from the base form of the language, German has some changes that you could see how they worked into English. And the Grimm brothers, yes, the Grimms from Grimm's fairy tales, those guys, they actually didn't create fairy tales. They just wrote them down from hearing, tribal elders and such tell these tales. But they also were researchers, and they noticed how the language changed from, going from the German area to the British areas. So, here's what they noticed. That I should write here, this is German. And then this is English over here. So many words, not all, but many words that start with... or have a T, not start with, but have a T in German, became a D in English, such as this word, gut. Well, if the T became a D, you put a D there, now you have good. Okay? Yes, the vowels are different, and the vowels don't always change, and there's not a really good chart to track this, but this will just help you get from this word that looks like your gut to gut, which is good. Okay, so that's nice. How about this one? The D in German often turns into a TH, like in danke. So if you change the D to a TH, now you have danke. Well, now you're getting a lot closer. So that is thanks. Now here the G turns into a Y, like in tak. Well, here we have two changes. The T becomes a D, so there's a D, and the G becomes a Y, so now you have the word day. I want to go back to my first example and show you that in this case the G did not change to a Y. This stayed a G in English. So it doesn't work for every switch. So it's not a 100% rule, but it helps with a lot. The B has changed to a B, like in habe, so now that's have, okay, and that is the word for have. The F has changed to a P, like in hilft. Maybe you can get that. If the F becomes a P, now you have hilpt, and that's helps. He helps me or she helps me, okay. Then several letters, mostly sibilants, have turned into a T. So these sibilants here have turned into a T in English. So the Z became a T, like in 10. Now that's the number 10. The double S has become a T, like in Wasser, which is water to drink. And then the S set has become a T, as in Fuß, which is foot. So there you go. Two last things to add to this is sometimes a difficult word in German. Oops, I couldn't remember how it was spelled. 20. Let's pretend you don't know what 20 is, but you have Grimm's laws here, and you see that the Z becomes a T, so you take the Z, make it a T, you take this Z and make it a T, and then you have a G at the end, which becomes a Y. Now instead of 20, you have 20. It's not exactly 20, but it gets you really close. So sometimes this Grimm's laws can really help you figure out words that look hard at first. When you first look at that, it's tough, but once you do Grimm's laws, it makes it a whole lot easier. And my final note is you can also sometimes go backwards. I had a friend visiting me in my home in Colorado, and I took her to an old part of town, and I was pointing out that the ceiling had these, it was a tin ceiling, a tin plated ceiling. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, I don't know how to say tin in German. So I thought, well, this is probably an old word, and it starts with a T. So I went backwards, and I thought, well, what if I take tin and make the T into a Z? And so I said, zin. I wasn't 100% right. The true word is zinne, I think. But I was close enough. And she got it once I said zin. If I would have said tin, she wouldn't have known it. But if I said zin, it got me within striking distance. So you could even use Grimm's laws backwards. So I hope this gives you an overview of the German language, the written language. And now you've got you're off to a running start. It should help you. Hopefully your ear is trained to the language. And after a little bit of practice, you should be able to spell anything that you can hear. German is very easy to sound out. So, take care, and let's see if we can spell some German.